Hey there, it is time for another video. This one is going to be on the subjunctive mood. This is for Spanish 3, Unit 1, Week 4. Before we jump into the excitement that is the subjunctive mood, first, a meme in Spanish. Abuela! How great is that? Is that great? Hopefully that was great. Okay, anyway. Okay, so we're going to talk about the subjunctive mood. You have a copy of next week's study guide available to you. You may notice a couple of changes. Number one, that study guide is available to you because of the feedback of my students. Everybody said that they wanted to have the study guides available so they could be looking at them during the video. So you have that available. Number two, my face is not covering up the video. Yay! So you don't get to see my ceiling fan in my living room flashing and flickering in the background. So you've got that available to you if you want to go take a look at that. So what is the subjunctive mood? This is something that we have not nearly as much in English as we do in Spanish. So here's basically what it is. It's used when you want to make opinions, express doubt, show emotion about something, or show your desires, as in show what you want. So it says basically not concrete hard facts, if you want to kind of think of it that way. Rather, it's hopes, feelings, desires, opinions, what may happen, but we're not sure. So, you may say, for example, the chicken is delicious. That's an opinion. Let's come up with something else. Let's say the chicken is hot. All right, concrete hard fact. Now, what you could do with the subjunctive is you could make an opinion about that and say it's great that the chicken is hot. So if you're adding that little opinion at the beginning, it's great that, and that means that the next part isn't necessarily concrete hard fact. We're just saying it's great that that kind of thing happens, but it's not necessarily saying that it has happened. It's just kind of confusing because we don't use it nearly as much in English as they do in Spanish. About the most tangible way that we use this in English is when we say, I wish I were. Because we know that we don't generally say I were, we generally say I was. But the I were part is switching into the subjunctive in English. And we don't use the subjunctive very much in English. I think I said that a couple times already. So anyway, that's my best explanation right now about why the subjunctive exists. So what we're going to do, like it says here, for now though, we're just going to focus on one use of the subjunctive, one way that it's used pretty commonly in Spanish. And it's after someone says it's blank that, putting some sort of, opinion, adjective in the blank. It shows opinion, use the subjunctive. First bullet point here, it says it shows how you feel instead of just stating the fact, hence the subjunctive. So here's an example. Es importante que, it's important that. Es interesante que, it's interesting that. Es bueno que, it's good that. So if you say those things, you're basically stating your opinion, that you think that it's good that this happens. That's your opinion. Now, if we just wanted to say that it happened, that's stating it as fact. But if we add this little thing to it at the beginning, now it's an opinion, and now we have to use the subjunctive in the next verb. So let me give you, before I give you an example, let me show you how you actually form verbs in the subjunctive. This is all going to kind of fall together whenever we have an example here in just a second. So if you need to form a verb in the subjunctive, here's how you do it. You start with the yo form of the verb. You drop the O off of it. Does this sound familiar? If you remember your usted commands, these are practically the same. Or a -2 command, you have to start with the O and drop the O. Same kind of thing. And then you add the opposite ending. With those usted commands, you add the opposite letter. This is pretty much the same thing, only adding the opposite ending is a little different. If it's an AR verb, you add these E endings. If it's an ER or IR verb, you add these A endings. Okay. Example, if you want to use the verb tener, You want to say it's important that I have. Okay, so if we need to change I have into the subjunctive, you start with the O, which is tango. You drop the O, so then you got tang. And then you add the opposite ending. Tener is an ER verb, so you're going to add it. The yo form is an A. So it's going to say, es importante que yo tenga. Tenga would be the subjunctive, which is going to sound weird for a little while until you get used to the subjunctive. Okay, here is an example, finally. It's important, okay, we just did an es importante example. That's okay. It's important that I study. So that's our first example. So we're going to start with es importante que. It's important that. I call these little s something k or sk phrases, I call these subjunctive triggers. It means that this little phrase right here triggers the subjunctive and whatever comes after it. So it's important that, and then whatever comes after that is basically like your opinion part of the sentence, I guess, but this next verb is going to come in the subjunctive. So we need to change, in this case, study to the subjunctive. Start with the yo, estudio, drop the O, then we've got estudi, add the opposite ending. We'll flip back to the previous slide. There's the yo, it's an AR verb, it's an E ending that you want. So we're back to this other slide, add the opposite ending, it's estudie. So here's what your whole sentence looks like. Es importante que yo estudie. See how that works? You've got your subjunctive trigger right here, es importante que, and then you've got the next thing is the subjunctive, yo estudie. Very basic sentence using the subjunctive. Okay, time to practice. Here are 3 sentences. They're kind of strange, awkward sentences, but they will let you practice with the subjunctive. So you're going to be making these SK sentences, SK, SK. And then you're going to use, I tried to use some real basic adjectives so you didn't have to think too much about this part. And then you're going to change these verbs over here into the subjunctive. So take a second, pause your video, and see if you can figure out the examples. Okay, so hopefully you paused your video, you tried out your examples. Let's see how they're supposed to look. This one says, es interesante que, and we want they swim. The verb nadar is an AR verb. There's your AR verb. We want to say they, so it's EN. Es importante que ellos naden. N-A-D-E-N. Next one, it's funny that he talks. Es cómico que is the word that I would use. If you got a different word there, that may be okay. Es cómico que él, the verb is hablar, obviously, that's an AR verb. We want to use the E ending, que él hable, with an E. And then finally, it's good that we eat. Es bueno que nosotros, the verb is comer, ER verb. We want an amos ending. Que nosotros comamos. Naden, hable, comamos. Those are your verbs. Okay, so I gave you a couple of those SK phrases up here on the previous page. We're going to flip back to that. It's interesting that, it's funny that, it's good that. Okay, here are some other ones. This is an awful lot of text on one slide, but you do have these on your study guide. So it's good that, it's logical that, it's best that, dangerous, possible, or ridiculous. It's a shame, it's probable, sad, strange, necessary, bad, important. These are all things that you can just grab and just plug into a sentence, and then that way you've got something without having to reinvent the wheel. So you've got some options available to you there. Okay. Stem changers and irregulars. I'm not going to dwell on this too long. It says up here, yep, surprise, surprise, there are stem changers and irregulars in the subjunctive. The nice thing about stem changers, they look the same as in present tense. You've got your E to IEs, like the verb pensar goes to piensa. That one in the subjunctive is piense with the opposite ending. Dormir, to sleep, goes to duerme. In the subjunctive, it's duerma with the opposite ending. So thank goodness those aren't too tricky if you know your endings. There are only 5 irregulars. These look just like, again, if you remember your usted commands, if you happen to remember those and your irregular ones here, that's your irregular subjunctive. It's all the same. So if you remember those from before, then that'll help you out here. So if you want to say it's important that I go, you could say es importante que yo vaya. Or that I know, sepa, or that I give, de, or that I be, esté, or that I be, sea. So that's how that works. And that's it. Time for the assignment. So the Google form is available to you, so just make sure you click on it and answer all the questions to the best of your ability. Use your study guide if you want to. You know, just because that's the fun thing to do, right? So, all right. Hope that made sense. If you got any questions, obviously, get a hold of me. Thanks.